everybody. Welcome to Inside Quest. We're the Bill of Rights for your brain. Our goal is to bring on amazing people who are willing to fight for your mind. And if you're looking for somebody who's literally willing to stand up for your right to speak your mind, there is truly no better guest than the man joining us today. This Liberty City native is a seemingly born entrepreneur who began his career by throwing impromptu house parties while his parents were still at work. I love that. Showing a keen understanding of the principles that drive any successful business, he turned the house parties into profit centers by renting a Pac-Man arcade, which he stashed in his parents' utility shed, and by selling homemade drinks and snacks. While most kids were content to sit on the street corner and tell stories, he plotted his path to success, ultimately becoming a highly successful entrepreneur and founder of the first Black-owned record label. In the late 80s, leveraging his skills as a concert promoter and shrewd-ass marketer, he burst onto the hip-hop scene as the frontman for the controversial and wildly successful group 2 Live Crew, proving that independent labels could control their own destiny and thusly paving the way for the bevy of artist-owned labels that exist today. His racy lyrics and refusal to ever back down from a fight, even one with the US government, however, would eventually change the course of his career and make him the poster child in the fight for freedom of speech, a fight he would ultimately take all the way to the Supreme Court, where he eventually won a groundbreaking case that served to strengthen the First Amendment. Always reinventing himself, this hip-hop pioneer returned home to Liberty City to carve out a new path as a civic leader and youth mentor. In '94, he co-founded the Liberty City Optimist Sports Program, designed to get kids off the streets and into college through sports. The program has had some incredibly notable successes in its more than 25-year history, including NFL star Devontae Freeman and Keon Hardeman, the Miami City Commission chairman. In 2011, this one-time bad boy even ran for mayor of Miami-Dade County, earning 11% of the vote, proving he remains a very relevant political voice. Now the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator of the Miami-Jackson High School football team, he continues his fight to get kids into college and prove the power of opportunity. Please help me in welcoming the outspoken columnist for the Miami New Times, author of the Book of Luke, My Fight for Truth, Justice, and Liberty City, Luther Campbell.
Hey, man.
Welcome to the show, man.
Oh, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you as well. It's a
Thank you for
pleasure to
having
have
me. All right.
So your mind works in some pretty incredible ways. Reading your book, which is an utterly fascinating tale of what, at least to me, seems to be a born entrepreneur, somebody who just very early on really understood the mindset to go beyond being somebody else's employee and to really take control of their life. How did you get that instilled in you? It's pretty shocking how early it started.
Well, I mean, you know, my mom Bahamian, my dad is Jamaican, you know, and we come from a working family, you know, household, you know, 4 brothers, I'm the 5th one. You know, everybody is, you know, we always talked about being an entrepreneur. My dad, you know, he owned a little barbecue stand. At the same time, he owned, you know, he was a custodian at a school. You know, so, you know, my mom, she was independent, being a beautician. You know, if she don't go to work, she don't make any money. So she kind of instilled into all of us that attitude about, you know, being something better than just, you know, a man and working for, you know, the other man.
And you said that your parents, being islanders, had like crazy work ethic. How did they instill that in you? Because obviously your whole family's hard workers.
Yeah, I mean, if you want money to go to the high school dance, you had to clean screens, you had to go in the backyard, you know, everything that you wanted, you had to work for. You know, you were automatically given three pair of pants, 3 pair of shirts for the whole year. And anything else you wanted, you would have to go and work for it, you know, and make money to do things, buy other things that you may have wanted. Right. And so that's basically how our household was.
I definitely recommend everybody read the book. It really took me by surprise. So I was the demographic of people that took that first album from 2 Live Crew. It was such a part of my youth, and it was so like risque. You're not allowed to have it, which made it all the more like enticing for kids. So knowing sort of how it manifested itself in that form, and then reading your book and understanding the deep thought that went into becoming first the concert promoter, and you were getting unique people down to Miami, which at the time was not a scene, and really just doing so much out of necessity. Talk about that necessity and how it fueled your drive.
Well, I mean, everything that I did was about using common sense. it was a common sense approach. I wanted to be a DJ, which I was a DJ. I interned at the radio station, local radio station in Miami, and then from that, I evolved into, okay, I got this DJ group, Ghetto Style DJs. What are we gonna do to separate ourselves from everybody else? I've always had the mentality that I don't want to do anything just like everybody else. I want to do something different. And we started bringing down acts. We started bringing down, rap groups and things from New York when nobody else was really doing that. A couple other DJ groups were doing it, but we took it to a whole nother level. We started renting out skating rinks on the weekends when most groups were renting out high school gyms. So we kind of did things different. And then when I brought all these different groups down to Miami, everybody had the same thing in common. They had these horror stories that they were talking about with the record companies not supporting them, not paying them any money. And unfortunately, Two Live Crew was one of those groups that came down and they was like, look, man, help us out. Whatever you could do. And I was like, I'm gonna help some guys out that's in the Air Force. You contractually obligated to the armed forces. And eventually, and I didn't want to be in the music business. And like I talk about in the book, I wanted to be, a concert promoter after I started being a DJ, saying, oh man, I like this concert promoting thing more so than DJing. This is another level to the DJing. And before you know it, I ended up in the business, not knowing how I got in the business. I put the record out, took my money and put it into the project. And I was like, I like this. I might want to do this instead of, hustling concert tickets. And so I got stuck into the music business.
How many times did people tell you that something was impossible? In the book, when telling that story in the book, you go through so many they said we couldn't get the acts down. And then it was, okay, you got the acts down, but you couldn't own the record label. We owned the record label. And then it on and on and on. How often did you hear that?
I heard that from day one. I couldn't be this. You can't be that. You're not gonna be successful. You're gonna end up either in jail or in the grave. And where I come from and where I was raised up is it's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people telling you you can't be this. And that is why I'm so much into young people's life in Miami. That's why I never moved out here to California, because I think these kids need to be inspired by somebody that looked like them, who live in the same neighborhood, who did some of the crazy things. So I've did everything that some of these people have done in their life, but I was able to, change my life around because these same people were telling me I wasn't gonna be anything in life. But once I put my mind to it and I said, hey, look, we could be smarter than this and take it to the next level. So, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really liked about the book and drew me in a lot was watching somebody going down a path, because you tell it in real time, right? So you feel like you're sort of there with you at that moment. You're talking about, here I am, I'm selling marijuana. I know it's not what I want, and it wasn't what you wanted because you kept calling it a dead end, right? Like that doesn't lead anywhere. And I have this concept, this vision of what my life could be, and I need to make that real. Like I need to take the steps to actually make it real. And one of the most interesting things in your story for me, I'm sure for you, it was just sort of an afterthought, but it really showed me somebody that had intention. You wanted to become a DJ, so you actually go and take a class on the basics of audio recording and remixing, and I could just feel the intention. But yet there was nothing in your environment that would lead somebody to believe this guy goes, okay, education is critical. Talk a little bit about some of the early influence. I know you had Uncle Ricky who was pounding the education drum. Your own parents were pounding the drum, but at first you didn't hear it.
Right.
Talk about that pivotal moment when you realize football's probably not the right answer.
Yeah, my whole goal is to be an NFL guy. And just like I said in the book, I have a guy come back who went to the NFL, blew his knee out, now he's coaching high school ball. And he says, look, it's only 1,200 jobs in the NFL. And only 200 jobs come available every year. And so I'm like, whoa. And now here I'm sitting there in the 11th grade, thinking I'm finna be the next guy. Right. At that point, that's when my whole life kind of changed. I said I need to focus on the books, education. At that period of time, I couldn't even read. So then one of my friends get shot, the kid in the book, Handsome Harry. And at that period of time, I said, look, I can go and shoot the people, who shot him, end up in jail, or they can shoot me, put me in the grave, or I could do something better. So I was at the crossroad. Then I made a decision that I want to go in this direction right here because I can help so many other people, these other young men that are hanging out with me, and I can help my community at the same time. So I took that road and say, all right, I'm gonna go and intern and learn this DJ business. So when I ended up getting into the music side of it, and I started thinking about the things that I went through, and I learned from the radio station to the record pools and all this, and listening to music. Oh man, you're an A&R guy. You're a marketer. You can market and promote. You know how to get a record on the radio. You know how to sell a record. So I became a salesperson. I became all that in one while I was transitioning to trying to figure out what I wanted to be.
So there's a couple things that you touched on in there that are so pivotal to your book and to your story and to just success in general that I want to really belabor these points. Thinking and change. And you said in the book, my dad would think very deeply when he had a choice to make, and he would stop, you would see him ponder, you could see his mind working, and if he felt he had made the wrong choice, while he didn't apologize, he would adjust his behavior moving forward. That's so readily apparent in you and the number of times that you've reinvented yourself, going from, you start as a cook in the hospital and then realize, okay, wait, I'm just gonna run some simple math on what I'm doing. In fact, back up, you start as this football star. Really think about that for a second. So here you've got a kid, black kid being bussed into a white neighborhood. They've recruited him to play football. In the mecca of football, more NCAA Division I talent comes out of Miami per capita than anywhere else in America, right?
Yes.
So in the mecca of football, you're one of the kids they're recruiting you. They're grooming you to go on that path. You can all but feel the dollars from the NFL, which you know would change the life of your family. You're an 11th grader. You've already given years of your life to this. He's getting home at 11 p.m. at night. He's being bussed in and out, doesn't see his friends, doesn't do homework. No one pressures him to do homework, by the way, because he's there to play football. Somebody comes in and says, in his 11th grade year, oh, by the way, your chances of making it into the NFL, about 1% of you will make it, and those of you who make it will stay there for 2 to 3 years. You'll probably get injured or cut from the team, and you're going to end up broke. Now, he gives that speech, the entire team, right? But how many of them are changed? I'm going to guess virtually none of them. And my plea to everybody that comes across this show, allow yourself to be changed by the information that comes your way. Your story stopped me dead in my fucking tracks because it was like page after page, you would hit a piece of information and go, my life has to change, right?
Yeah.
So the coach hits you with that. You realize, whoa, I've got a 180 degree in my life. He goes and gets a tutor because he's like, I can't read, so I need to educate myself. He's in the 11th grade, So that happens in the 11th grade. You get the tutor, you realize, okay, it's too late. I'm not gonna be able to get there in time for college, but I can still open myself up now to learning. And your mom at that point sends you to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Tell us that story.
Oh man, because I was, at that time, I was running hard in the streets. So my mom saw me going the wrong direction. It was like, okay, you gotta go live with your military brother in D.C. It's like, oh no, please don't do that to me. Going with the drill sergeant. So I got shipped out to D.C. and that was the biggest change in my life. Coming from Miami, you don't see no black professionals in Miami at that time. You didn't see any black folks riding around in Mercedes-Benz or putting on a suit to go to work. You go downtown Miami, you see mostly white people or you see Cuban people, and those are the professional people in Miami. So, you don't see anybody you want to aspire to be like. So when I get to DC, I'm like, oh man. And my brother puts me in an office and I'm working with all these professional black people. I'm seeing computers and all these different things. And I'm like, if I learn this to be a professional person and I go back to Miami where there's not too many professional African Americans, I can go back there and I can really take what I learned here and I can, apply it in the right way. And that's what actually changed my mind. I mean, it changed my whole life. And I came back and I started telling the guys who were in this DJ group / gang, look, we're not gonna do that anymore. We're gonna buy our own club. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, we're gonna do some dances, we're gonna take the money and get the money, we're gonna buy our own club. And so we ended up doing that. We bought our own teen disco, called it the Pac Jam Teen Disco on 54th Street and 12th Avenue. So we became entrepreneurs, with the mentality of, the things that I learned from DC about being business, being about your business. And I just took that whole approach, and from that point on, it was all about business for me. It was about, expanding, adding on to the business, being diverse. Even when I started the record company, I was like, okay, they just think I'm a booty shaking record company. I'm gonna do R&B, so I go find the group H-Town from Houston, and then it's okay, well, we gotta be more versatile. Go get a gospel group, from Chicago. And okay, well, I'm not complete because I'm from Miami. The only way I'm complete, if I'm really, really Miami, I gotta find a Cuban artist. So then that's when I go find Pitbull. And I discover him and put him out, and then I say, okay, I'm really complete. I don't have to do this no more. Now I got R&B, I got rap, I got hip hop, I got Dirty South, and I got a Cuban artist. So, at that point I was like, okay, what else can I do?
Right. It's that notion of thinking and change again. Like hearing you tell that story about going to DC, and I just think how many people encounter a similar environment and don't change. And the reason this is so important to me, and the reason that I'm really going to belabor this point.
Somebody sent you somewhere, right? Didn't your mom send you? I mean, once you had that 2 Live Crew album in your house,
that was the beginning of everything.
They knew
great
something was going on with you that was really, really wrong.
We got to get this kid somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the reasons that I started the show was specifically to introduce people to somebody from all walks of life, because I think people think success is the only thing that breeds success. And I think sometimes successful people come from very successful backgrounds, and it's sort of obvious that, they go through the system, they go to an Ivy League college, they go on to be a banker, whatever. That's a real path, and it does happen. Certainly was not my path. Clearly it was not your path. But was there something that, in fact, forget what was said to you, what do you say to other kids to prime their minds to be open to really think about the world around them, about what they're seeing, so that if they went into their version of DC and looked around and saw something new, that they would react accordingly?
Let me tell you, I have this conversation all the time with the kids and adults. So I tell people, find what you like to do right now. You do it. That's not necessarily where you might end up at, because you'll be in that space. I'll be working here at this studio right now as a cameraman, and I want to be the cameraman. Then before you know it, I want to be the producer. Then I want to be the director. Then I want to be the host. And I tell people, the best education is to learn from people who have been through different things, and just suck up all the knowledge. And that's what I did. I sucked up all the knowledge from the old people, because the old people already went through something to get to where they at.
Yeah, the part to that I fear is missing in a lot of people is that willingness to change. You've given 2 examples today that would have stopped 99.99999% of people confronted with the exact same thing. So you go to DC, you come back, you realize I need to be an owner of my own business. Guys, we're no longer, and if you knew the real stories behind like these battles between DJ groups, it was like 25 on 25, people with chains, like fighting over who was gonna get to play the park.
Yeah, and if you don't play, you shoot the park up and stop it all.
That's crazy. So
like, oh, shit.
you come back from DC realizing, okay, that's not the game we're playing anymore. Yeah. Now we're gonna own this own club. You would have sounded like an alien, right?
Yeah.
Like they would have been like, what are you talking about? It is so foreign to what they know, and such a divergent change that would trigger every insecurity they have. And to you, it's common sense, right? You started by saying that. You started by saying everything I've done in my life has been common sense.
It's all common sense. Let me tell you, I mean, a lot of people think they have it, but everybody wants to be like somebody else. Even, it's always, a guy bring a song to me, or it sounds a little bit like Drake, but he's a little bit like this one, and a little bit of, no. Well, just be yourself. Right. So a lot of people are so scared to be themselves and just do what they want to do. It was so foreign to have a rap group from Miami, a record company. Here I'm selling millions of records, And it was still foreign to other companies. It was foreign when I did a video with girls on the video, at the beach, in bikinis. While everybody was doing videos in the front of trains and paint on the wall, we were like, that's foreign to us. Right. I'm like, okay, I'm showing Miami, I'm doing me. And I'm not going, no, well, you need to go to New York and shoot these videos in the front of the painting on the wall. No, I'm from Miami, I'm gonna do me. We're gonna do girls in bikinis, this is what we see every day, in the MTVs, BETs, no. We can't play no videos with no girls with bikinis on. Are you out of your mind? And then that's when the box come around, Video Music Box. Video Music Box, it come based out of Miami, pay to look at the video, they play my videos. And all hell breaks loose then. Then the world got introduced to what we were doing, and it pretty much basically changed the whole look of the music business.
How much of your success do you think is born of how stubborn you are?
A lot of it. You're not gonna tell me, no, I can't do anything. Can't is not in my vocabulary. I tell my son every day in the house. Say, oh, I can't do no, because that's what was, you would get beat in my house. My dad would beat you with a belt.
Because he knew it wasn't useful.
No, you can't, there's no can't. No, the can't was not in our vocabulary. You cannot say can't in the house. I feel the weps right now. But no, that is just, and when anybody would tell me, oh, you can't do this, you can't be this. And I tell them, oh, yes, I can. And that really makes me focus on what I want to do. And so that makes me stubborn. I'm stubborn. But I just, I like challenges.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And I don't use that word with any derision. Like it's incredibly powerful. And to have lived through the era when you were fighting the court battle all the way to the Supreme Court, everybody was asking, like, why push it so hard? Nobody's coming to your aid. You're doing it all alone. Mm-hmm. Even though so many other people, the entire music industry is going to be impacted by the outcome, yet you stood alone. And stood and kept fighting and kept going and pushing it forward. It's, I'll use the word grit. It was a phenomenal case of grit.
Yeah, it was that stubborn thing again. Because I could have had about $3 or $4 million in my bank account if I didn't fight those fights. Ooh. It was, again, it was that stubbornness of saying, oh no, you can't sing these songs. And then I'm like, no, yes I can. The Constitution is for everybody. There ain't no separate constitution here, for rappers, African Americans versus everybody. Hey, look, it's freedom of speech. And so once they said, okay, you can't sing these songs and these records will be taken off the shelf, then I just took on this fight of, no, I'm fighting back. The 4th District Court of Appeal said this album is obscene. I could have left it like that and just went on about my business and not do any kind of music like that. I'm going to appeals court. We're going to appeal this because I already know if it becomes case law, then at the same time, it would define what hip hop business is today or any music period. Nobody couldn't be able to say the things that they're saying on the records right now because you would have, things that would set precedent and use that same case law against any other artist. And it wasn't really about the money. I say, I came from nothing. I'm already winning right now. Hey, look, I'm supposed to either be dead or in jail. You ain't gonna tell me I don't have the freedom of speech or the right to say the same thing that Andrew Dice Clay is saying, that Playboy television show is saying, and that you have in the magazines. It became bigger than that for me. And so I took on the fight, and I'm happy that we won. And it was 2 important cases, and I talk about it in the book. It was one, the parody case that would have ruined the entire comedy business because most comedians do parodies. Right. When they make fun of people. Saturday Night Live and all those, that would have been done. Those shows would have been over with. So that was the one case, the parody case that went to Supreme Court. But the one that we won in the Court of Appeals that we got appealed was whether the lyrics were obscene.
The one in Broward County. The
one in Broward County. Once we got that overturned, then now there was no more precedent that would have been set to be able to go after other groups like the Lil Waynes and the Rick Ross, all these other artists that are doing explicit lyrics. So once we won that, that kind of saved hip hop for what it is right now, protecting that First Amendment, and then the parody case pretty much kind of, saved the comedians and allowed them to continue doing parodies the way that they want to do them.
So talk about what you're doing with the Youth League, which is a pretty profound way to point your talents.
Knowing what I knew from high school, always, said, okay, one, I don't want to get bused to Miami Beach again. I don't want no kids to be put in the same predicament that I was put in. You get up 5 o'clock in the morning, you get on a bus, you travel to Miami Beach, 45 minutes, you go play football at the youth program, at the parks, you come back home, you get home 11:30 at night, you got no time for no books, they're just passing you along because you're a good football player and they want you over there to play football. So I always said, in that 11th grade year when I decided I'm stop playing football, I need to focus on education and figuring out what I want to be. I said that if I ever get 2 cents over my lunch money, I'm not going to allow any other kid to be put in this same predicament. So when I did get some money, I did 2 things, and I talk about in the book. One, I bought my mom a house. She didn't want to move. It was hard getting her to move. I bought her a house and bought my dad a car, bought him a new car, and then I took some of my other money, and then I started my youth program at Charles Hadley Park, and this is our 26th year right now. We got a brand new building we getting built, a $6.5 million building by one of the kids who played in the program, Commissioner
incredible.
Hardiman. Now he's the chairperson that you mentioned, and so it's just it's a beautiful thing. And I said when my career kind of died down, I'll go back and start coaching at my program, and died down, I started coaching at the program, and that is how I started coaching the kids, the Devontae Freeman, the Darrell Estridges, and all those kids of the world. Had me rocket scientist, what can I do? And I'm okay, all right, we're losing so many kids to the streets in the program. We got some that are successful, but a lot of them are dying. Gun violence or whatever, and now I'm saying, okay, these kids are not like thugs when they're in the program. When they get to high school, for some reason they get around the wrong people. So then we expanded the program. That's how I ended up coaching high school football. So we started taking them around, which we've done, for the last 10 years, take them to different colleges in the summer on college tours. And they'll go do a college camp, stay in the dormitories, see kids that look like them from the area that they're from, open their mind up. We don't have to tell them to get your books because they see exactly where they want to go. It became the same mentality that I had to go through when I left and went to DC. My world opened up. And so that's what we do with these kids right now, because they live in this box of the neighborhood, the hood, 2 blocks. This is our hero, this thug here, this killer here. I do want to be like one of the football players, but until you take them and put them on a college campus and they see other football players and other students walking around that look like them with dreadlocks, they go back, their whole world is totally different than what it is. And that's how we've been able to become successful at getting over 90% of the kids that are in the high schools and 85% of the kids that come out of my program in the colleges and universities and getting degrees.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I love that you don't just feature the sports successes, even though it's a sports program, but showing kids that there's another path. I love that. What's your definition of a life well lived?
A life well lived? Well, when you're young, you just, before you get married, get it out your system. So you live that life, you get comfortable with where you're at. You go in, you do business, you set your nest egg, you become the person you want to be. If you want to be a good janitor, be a great janitor. No problem. My dad was a great janitor. He loved every day going to work. He took us there. And I was like, nah, I don't want to be no janitor, boss. You like doing this, but I don't. But he was happy. Right. My mom was happy, being a great beautician. She loved it. She went to work every day. So if that's what you want to do and that's what makes you happy, do it. But if you want to do some other things in life and you want to, you want to own your own business, don't ever let nobody tell you no. So I tell people, don't worry about people telling you you can't be something. And if you do go and you become successful, you fall on your face. You know, I got broke at least 5 times. Went through chapter 11s and all that. You know, it wasn't a problem because I had the confidence in myself, because my parents always told me, if you're broke in the mind, you're always gonna be broke in the pockets. But if you're smart and you're rich in the mind, you will never be broke in the pockets. You know, so I always lived off of that. You know, I'm always smart, I can make money all day, that's easy. You know what I'm saying? But who am I gonna help along the way? And so that's what I try to do. I'm more so into helping people. You know, while I was on the plane riding 6 hours, I wrote down the things that I get paid for. It was 5 things that I get paid for, and there's 12 things that I do for free. And those 12 things are things, I don't encourage other people to do that, but those are 12 things that I help everybody else try and be successful at what they're trying to do. That's where I'm at in my life right now.
That's amazing. Luther, thank you so much for being on
Appreciate
the show.
it, man.
That was incredible.
All right.
Thank you. Guys, you gotta read this book. It's absolutely incredible. It's called The Book of Luke, My Fight for Freedom, Justice, and Liberty City. It is absolutely a raw, real story that walks you through his mindset. And if you take only 2 things away, take the man that approaches the world and thinks and is open to change is the man that can do anything he wants. Don't take no for an answer. I certainly got that message loud and clear today, and you see it echoed through the book. Somebody who has lived career after career after career because he sits there and he thinks about what he sees and he thinks about its implications and he thinks how he can use it to his advantage and to help others. It is a mind-blowing story of somebody who you may think you know, but until you read that book, you realize that there are depths that you know nothing about yet. And each one of those depths will give you something powerful that you can use in your own life. So I encourage you guys all to read it. And Uncle Luke, where can they find you online?
Oh man, you can LukeRecord.com.
LukeRecord.com.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Luther, thank you so much for
Appreciate
coming on the
it,
show.
man.
It's
Thank
absolutely
you.
incredible. Guys, it's a weekly show. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And also, you can get tickets to be in this lovely audience, so make sure that you hit us up for tickets at InsideQuest.com. You can follow me socially at @TomBilyeu, which we will put in the notes so you don't have to guess at how that's spelled. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care.
All right.
One more time.
My man.
Thank you.
No
Thank
doubt,
you. That
man.
was absolutely
I enjoyed it.
fantastic.